welcome. Hello, Pamela. Um, Hope everybody's having a good evening. And I'll start tonight by telling you some where I am at myself tonight. I'm thoroughly disappointed in our country and our society and the governance in America is just devolving. Ethics and morals are in a free fall. Criminality is how you get things done in government now. Um, and the malignant narcissist who's running the country that we were dumb enough to elect into office again after 30 plus felony convictions, he's pulling out all the stops. And I fear that even how bad the last now almost 11 months have been, um, we're heading into something much worse in 2026. Even when he won the special election, because he heavily intervened in the Van Epps special election that Van Epps won in Tennessee, and he heavily intervened. Uh, Called Mike Johnson at the rally, the whole bit, did multiple pressers on him, the whole thing. So he wins the special election um, by not the margin anybody expected. It was actually a hell of a lot closer than most people thought. The last minute polling had it within the error rate, so it was close. But even if he wins something, he's still angrier the next day. And this is getting to a point where it's just not the malignant narcissism that's the mental health problem, and which now turning into America's problem. It's a vulgar display of anger, menace, animus, and grievance. Now, with the volume turned up to 11, full fire hose. You just don't pump that fire truck pump um, up to 100 pounds of pressure. You try to crank it up as high as it will go without the hose bursting. That's the crap we're facing right now. And I'm going to play you something, and I'm going to turn up my laptop here so make sure it gets in the phone audio. But this is actually what he said in the White House.
Ripped off that state for billions of dollars. Billions. Every year. Billions of dollars. And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Somebody said, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks. And we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries too. We don't want them to help. We have to rebuild our country.
If you know your American history, about 100 years ago, this is exactly what they were saying about my grandfather coming from Ireland. The country was shit. They were shit. They shouldn't be here. This is exactly what they said about my grandfather and my great grandfather.
Our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came,
he's bitching about somebody complaining.
They got nothing. They came from paradise. They said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
Okay. I had a guy jump on my comment sections and on my Snap essay, and basically he came at me out of the blue because I didn't know about this, and I guess it's not the first time he's gone off on Smallies, but um, this guy jumped in my comments just immediately started saying the same thing. Well, the Somalis have stole billions of dollars, and you're just letting them in to rob us blind. And I went, "What are you talking about?" Oh, they stole billions. 300 of them stole $1 billion worth of SNAP funds. Okay. Then a couple of comments back and forth. Comment said, it's the Somalis. The Somalis in Minnesota. So I'm like, okay, there's obviously a criminal case that the feds were involved in that involves some Somalis. Okay. Because nothing, if you don't use something that has at least the basis of truth, a little nugget of 10% truth, you just sound like you're in one flew over the cuckoo's nest on too much Thorazine. Okay. So I looked it up the case and I went to the DOJ site and looked at the case. And yeah, there was a COVID funding fraud that involved some Somalis. Bunch got arrested for money laundering, defrauding the government, wire fraud, bunch of stuff. But it was interesting that most of the people arrested were actually U.S. citizens. It wasn't SNAP funding; it was COVID funding. And considering some of the other grifts that went on, oh, and it wasn't $1 billion; it was $237 million over like a year's period, and involved um, funding that should have gone to food kitchens and food delivery for the disabled and the elderly that just didn't exist. Okay, and they got caught by the FBI. So, so his response, the guy's response in the comments, he just went nuclear racist, and he just went out on a total screed how they're all out to get us. They're stealing everything. Da, 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 da. No one's ever bought food with SNAP funds. They only buy drugs. Um, and he starts going into the old canard that which Dr. Carl Hart at Columbia did observational studies about this. The whole part of the crack wars thing, they came up with a lot of mythology, including a lot of just bunk science, pseudo psychology, let's call it, because it seemed to play into the narrative. Um, the narrative has held for many years until Dr. Hart did the study. Um, that once you're addicted, you'll even forego food, which doesn't make sense because if you don't eat food long enough, addicts can be addicts for years, decades, and so forth. Okay. Um, you go years without eating food, you die. Okay, you go a couple of weeks without eating food, you're gonna die. Um, he is the zeitgeist of the drug war clan that the politicians and the pundits um, had this thing where, well, if you gave a crackhead $20, they'd immediately go out crack, even if they were starving. Well, Dr. Hart actually got permission to do a study. You can have $20 to go eat some food, or you can have some crack cocaine. Majority of the time, they pick the money to go eat. Okay. So I didn't know where this guy was going ballistic. Um, when he started on me the other yesterday, I don't know where he was getting this, and then I just finally had time. I was working on a security scanning problem for a client today. I have to build a it's called an amnesia system. It's a bootable operating system that has no configuration, no memory once you turn it off. Okay, it's brand new every time you boot it. This way, if you launch some malware or killware or virus, computer virus, whatever, you just break apart the USB stick you booted from. You destroy it, and there's no fingerprints for anything. You didn't get anything else infected. So I was working on that earlier. I finally figured it out about 6 o'clock. Um, Figured out what my Padawan did wrong. Uh, and just got around to this. And then I was talking to ChatGPT, and she couldn't find the transcript. So I went to PBS and found the whole video, which I just played for you in the background, so you could hear the audio. And I'm not mad as much as I am disgusted. Disgusting at the lack of ethics, morals, humanity, and basic decency in our society. And it's in a free fall right now because of dear leader porn star Humper and his street gang, the convicted felon and his goombas. Like he dear leader has this terrible problem. One, he has a terrible problem with the truth. Okay. Um, if he thought there was some advantage to doing so, you could lay down a yardstick next to a piece of lumber that was exactly a yard. And he would look at the yardstick and the lumber and tell you, no, it doesn't measure up. I think lying to him is that like compulsive. He is so mad. He is so angry. He is so corrupt. He is so deranged. Calling a sitting congressperson who, I get it, you may not agree with that progressive gal, Omar, but to call her garbage for what? Disagreeing with you on a political or a cultural issue? I've seen some pretty evil people do some pretty bad things back in the day. Um, Even we avoided using language like that, calling people garbage, even the suspects. Um, Even over beers during debriefing, like end of shift, we go order a late night pizza, go get a couple of six packs, and go hang out at the break room, across the street from the station, and have a few beers and talk. After shift, our happy hour obviously isn't 5 o'clock because we work swing shifts, so we're not off to 2 o'clock in the morning. And even over beers where it's just us. I mean, people. I never heard anybody rant like this, even against a felony suspect who did something really awful. And now you're just labeling people. And the thing is, tomorrow morning, it's not going to be the Somalis. It's going to be somebody else. He is just going to round robin through, hating on people. So his rubes, his sycophants, his alkalites will come after the rest of society who are just looking at this going, this is horrible. This is a horrible way to conduct yourself as a human being. But you call yourselves good Christians. That's driving me crazy. It really is. My wife and I are both atheists. If you look at how we treat other people and how we center our ethics and morals and how we conduct ourselves with our community, okay, we're definitely more Christian than the quote unquote good Christians who self identify themselves as superior people. How many times has Dear Leader called himself a good Christian? You got to be one of the worst people on planet frickin' Earth. Okay, the TV preachers, the prosperity preachers, they're just greedy fuckers who steal most of their money out of old people's social security checks. It's the long con. And Their country stinks. Yeah, I've had friends who were in Somalia, Marine RDF, Navy SEALs. Um, One person you may know from social media, Chris Beck. We know each other. We're not like tight friends or anything, but we were at veteran events together. He spoke at my company's conference, and he was like, "Oh, I remember you, dude." So every time we run into each other, we say hi and talk. But yeah, it was a bunch of like Army guys, Marines, special operators, Navy SEAL hero, and all the Marines, none of the Army guys had been there to Somalia or Djibouti, but all the Marine RDF guys and both SEALs that were there were like, yeah, we were all to both. And he goes, believe it or not, Djibouti's worse than Somalia. And he goes, the worst thing about Somalia is you get. One of the Marines said this. He goes, the first thing that happens when you get off the plane is you start gagging because most of the city is just an open sewage pit. Okay, it's a very poor country because it is a civil war torn country that is a failed state. Um, the people who want to leave and come find a brighter future have we forgotten what the Statue of Liberty is about? Okay, there was a reason why my great grandfather wanted to move the family to Boston. Okay, it wasn't going very well in Ireland. Okay, now we have a huge family here. Okay, generations have been here. Um, and this whole thing where Trump believes he can shit on anybody who's not white as an immigrant and then convince Norwegians to move into the country. Why would a Norwegian immigrate here? To lower their quality of life? To live in a dysfunctional system where the banks and the lobbyists make most of the decisions and hand you the bill? That's not the way it's done in Norway. They have a national wealth fund. We're $37 trillion in debt. Nobody goes bankrupt because of a healthcare bill. Anybody that wants to go to university or graduate school can do so. And if they need help, it will be provided. Why the fuck would you want to move here? Especially under an asshole like this. I guess if you're a racist, dumb Norwegian, I guess there could be a few of those. It's a wealthy, well educated, very safe country. Why the fuck would you want to come here? Especially at the invitation of dear leader. That makes no sense. But he's convinced himself that that's true because he's living in that billionaire bubble pipe dream that they think Americans' lives are all groovy because they have unlimited cash. They have no fear of arrest. Okay. Even when they do get arrested and they get convicted, nothing happens. Remember, Trump was convicted more than 30 times. He had 60 more charges. Every single charge has been dropped. But somebody else is responsible for the crime. And because somebody else may have done a crime, just like Dear Leader did crimes, the crimes he was convicted for, only the other is garbage. That's shameful. Anan Omar is garbage. Her friends are garbage. Why would you say that? Go back. Hmm. Hmm. It's funny because I've had a theory since the first term is something's going to snap and something eventually is going to stick to Trump. And suddenly we're going to hear it on the news. There was an unscheduled flight that left Teterboro and it's going to be Trump's private plane. To avoid prosecution, he'll flee to the UAE, Saudi Arabia, possibly Russia. and flee with who knows what. Flee with we don't know who else, and we don't know what materials he would flee with. Because if you're still not worried about him being a security risk, you're a fool. This guy had top secret documents in a bathroom. Okay. Remember, that was another thing he walked on. Literal national security violations that would put an army soldier in the stockade or at Fort Leavenworth for a long time. He completely skated on it. So, oh, they have to go back because I'm trying to fix the country. Meanwhile, he's ripping off, he's committing crimes. He's literally buying off people with pardons. And I really do think that if something ever were to get close to him again, we're going to be watching the airline version, the aircraft version of the slow speed chase with O.J. Simpson in the white Bronco. Now, the funny thing is, if he takes off and heads over the Atlantic, I don't think France and Spain are going to let that plane pass. They're going to force it down, probably in the Azores, the islands in the middle of the Atlantic. And the apocalyptic language he uses makes no damn sense. They've destroyed Minnesota. How? How? A few thousand, maybe tens of thousands of Somalis live in Minnesota. There are millions of people who live in Minnesota. But Minnesota is now a burning wasteland because Somalis exist in our society. And the reporter asks us a question: what problems are Somalis causing here, as in here in the United States? A lot. They destroyed Minnesota. Everybody knows that. Nobody knows that because you just made it up. Okay. In 2008, the bank bailouts, the banks took us, this is the number Barney Franks and Rand Paul both used, $12 trillion in damage to the economy, back end funding, bailouts. The whole damage was worth $12 trillion. Okay. How many bankers went to jail? None. None. Okay. Do you know who they did go after? A small, uh, I don't know what classification the bank is, but it was a small mortgage broker, I guess we'll call it, run by Asians. And even though the mortgages that they helped bring in as customers and got signed as contracts, their default rate was a tiny fraction of the default rate that was going on in the mortgage crisis. Um, they attempted to charge everybody at that bank, including half of them that didn't even speak English, with basically causing the entire bank debacle. Okay, which, given the size of that firm, is pretty much mathematically impossible. But they did try that. They did try to blame Abacus Financing in New York City for the entire credit crisis. Why? Because nobody there was super wealthy and nobody there at Abacus was white. So they went, look what we found, the suspects of the bank crisis. God dang it. And meanwhile, he's absolutely convinced that the Somalis are committing all the crime in America. I thought it was another. I thought it was the Haitians in Ohio. No, no, no. It's the Somalis in Minnesota. Donald Trump may run to Prospera, a private billionaire island near Honduras. Ex-pres pardoned drug trafficker from Honduras, Peter Thiel, and more of the sickos. Interesting theory. Okay. I'll have to look that up. Prospera. Oh, and anybody have any clue why the Democrats were so happy with themselves today, releasing the video of Epstein Island? It's a beach bungalow run by a rich person. What has that got to do with releasing the Epstein files? Either show us the hardcore fucking evidence of the fucking pedophile and rapist, or go back to sleep, you idiots. Oh, here's the bedroom at the bungalow. Here's the shower room. Who gives a shit? As he complains about all the crime being caused, Trump today gave a full pardon before trial. Now, I want to make that point real clear here. This is a trial. This is an indictment that is still pending to go to trial. Okay? This is about $600,000 in dirty Azerbaijan and Mexico money coming into the hands of Texas representative, a Democrat, Henry Cooler. Okay? Him and his wife both were up on charges. The courts never even heard the case. The prosecutor and the people. Remember, the prosecutor represents the people. Okay? The people did not get their day in court. He subverted that. How? Why? I'll tell you how. The Cooler daughters wrote a fawning letter to Trump, kissing his ass. No, you don't have a mushroom dick. No, your penis is giant. Please pardon our parents. And he did. Before the trial even occurred. At least W waited for fucking Scooter Libby to go in court. The whole pardons thing has to be reformed. Okay? He issues a full pardon on a guy who took dirty Mexican bank money, the same banks they're accusing of working with the cartels. Again, there's a direct cartel linkage here, just like there was with Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road guy. Okay? There are direct connections to the cartels in these cases. He pardons them while telling us we have to go to war with the cartels because the cartels are doing crime. So are you, motherfucker. So are you. So if you think Trump, again, this is like his, what, 11th, 12th politician he's pardoned? A lot of them had the big B on their charge list, bribery. Bribery is a really bad crime. Bribery is the crime that's listed specifically in the Constitution as a no-no. Bribery can get you impeached. So all it took, once again, how did the Silk Road guy get pardoned? The Libertarian Party sent a chick over to shake her tits at Trump. That's all it took. She fawned over him at the dinner table at Mar-a-Lago, showed her boobies in her blouse. Look, will you pardon him? And he did it. That's all it took. A letter from the daughters, all it took. Now Coolar's on Twitter tonight, fawning over the president as the greatest president in American history. It gives me a clean state. I can't wait to help to work on his agenda. That's the why. Trump just bought another vote in Congress. He doesn't have to worry about the Republicans losing seats. He can just wait for the crooks in Congress to get an indictment, and then he can simply buy their votes. Now, if you think the Trump pardon is fucked up, and it is, Hakeem Jeffries celebrated it today. Hakeem Jeffries on CNN said, quote, "The reality is the indictment was very thin to begin with. That's Trump excuse for everything he pardons. Look how thin the indictment was. Isn't that the fucking judge's job to figure out? Not Akeem Jeffries in league with Donald Trump? Hey, Jeffries, fuck you. Jeffries again. I don't know why the president decided to do this. I think the outcome is the exactly right outcome. Jeffries is just another surrender monkey. Go back to my essay where I talked about the surrender monkeys. I told you about the surrender monkeys, and they're still surrendering. If you live in New York and you vote for this ass clown again, you deserve everything that happens to New York City, including Trump sending B-52s to bomb Manhattan. Anything that happens, if you're dumb enough to put Jeffries back in office after this term, you deserve everything you get, including hell on earth delivered by Donald J. Trump. Idiots. Now, Jeffries just didn't fawn over the pardon. He fawned over Kular, too. He called Kular beloved in Congress. Well, I guess as soon as you get a felony rap on your sheet, you're in the NHL of Congress now. You're in the top league. No more of this beer league shit. You're a pro fucking con artist now. You pro corrupt. Now here's the crescendo of this story. I need a sip of scotch because this one's going to hurt. According to the Texas Tribune, a great newspaper I recommend, by the way, one of the best papers in the country, Jeffries is slated to be the special guest in attendance at Kular's fundraiser in a couple of days. And it was already scheduled, even though he had an indictment sitting on him. Jeffrey 100% backs him. So you think all our problems are dear leader or Elon Musk or Peter Thiel? I'm not saying they aren't problems. They are. Okay. Democrats are the problem too. For either being surrender monkeys, great do-nothing artists. I'm still waiting for Democrats to codify Roe v. Wade. Like they claimed they were going to do it. They all did. Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton. Hillbot. Oh, we'll codify it. Of course we have to codify it. Did you ever spend more than 5 minutes other than saying we'll codify it? What other work did you do on codifying it? Nothing. Nothing. You simply are just. The two-party system is a failure. The left-right orthodoxy is the pretend political system we have. Okay? We have one party with two factions who get to argue with each other, but in the end, when they pass bills or don't pass bills, they all have the same agenda. Sure, there's a few outliers on both sides, but 90% of both parties fit into the left-right orthodoxy profile. Okay? They're not doing shit. They're not fixing shit. They're spending our money. And even when obvious things are happening that are wrong and need to be addressed, they're sitting on their fucking hands. You know, one of the most corrupt countries on earth is the Azerbaijan state-run SOCAR. Okay, that's where part of the bribery money came for this Texas dickhead, Cooler. And now, Team Jeffries couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier that not only is he taking money from a Mexican bank, which we've already had suspicions about, but he literally jumps on board. I mean, unless you went to like Gazprom in Russia. SOCAR is probably one of the worst corrupt countries. Nothing gets done without a bribe or a body being stuffed into a oil barrel. Okay, it's where I hate to say this, I really do. We are literally seeing the death of our institutions. Remember when they said, "Oh, Doge is going to get rid of all the waste, fraud, and abuse." Oh yeah, oh yeah. How many criminal charges were filed for fraud, waste, or abuse? None. How many grand juries were in panel to look into the fraud, waste, and abuse? None. Okay. You getting the vector? You're getting where this is going? We have foreign cash, we have bribery, we have money laundering, we have influence buying, we have national security exposure. What's being done? We're so bad at governance right now due to this clown show in charge. Countries are no longer sharing intelligence information with us. And it's not just one or two anymore. Okay. We are devolving as a government system, as a democratic republic. We are devolving. Our society is devolving. Our culture is devolving. All because of white nationalist shitheads running a street gang and pretending to be political leaders. This is the shakedown of shakedowns. We're no longer operating in a constitutional framework. We're literally operating in a system of corrupt influence. And when the corrupt, we tried to address remember, this was Trump's DOJ that was charging cooler. This wasn't started by Biden's DOJ. Okay. Trump's DOJ was just gleeful. They got to go after this guy in Texas. Pardoned him before day one of the trial even started. So people that were not even sure committed any crime, nor do we take the time to go through the due process. Because remember, the due process is for the accused, and it's for our society at the same time. We don't want to live in a society where the government just go, you committed a crime, we send you a black site, no one ever sees you again. But that's what we're literally doing. We're literally grabbing, beating, torturing people, throwing them in black sites, throwing them in detention centers, and we're not even sure they committed a crime. I could tell you very honestly, I never once even came close to a false arrest. Okay? This government is just going, we're going to let all the big criminals go as long as they kiss my ass. There's only one ass to kiss, and you can literally walk away from a list of felony charges. How does this make sense at any level? And Jeffries, let's admit it. Let's call it out. Jeffries is a fucking moron. Okay, he shouldn't have a driver's license. He shouldn't be allowed to walk on the sidewalk without being escorted. He's so stupid. Trump just bought a vote away from your caucus, Jeffries. Are you that stupid not to realize that? Or are they saying, is Jeffrey saying that Congress is now above the law, just like the White House thinks Trump's above the law? This is so far beyond Nixon and Watergate now. This is light years further than the problems we had with Nixon and Spiro Agnew. At least we blocked Spiro Agnew from ever being in public office again. We just let a sitting guy in Congress who we suspect to being one hell of a grand felon in a conspiracy with his wife to take bribes and foreign influence. Kular said in his tweet tonight, and I'll quote, "This pardon gives us a clean slate. The noise is gone. Work remains. I intend to meet it head on. Thank you, Mr. President. God bless." One gang member to the praising the fucking gang leader. Kular just got jumped into the gang. You saw the movie Colors. That shit was real. You join a gang, they beat the ever loving hell on you when they accept you in the gang. That's called the jump in. Kular got jumped in today. Homie, what's your gang sign, homie? This is like Tony Soprano being the fucking president. Why did Trump really pardon him? Because Kular is an anti-immigration Democrat. That's why. He wants that vote when he wants to pass something that gives him permission to do something else stupid. Because sometimes he does want his stuff rubber stamped by Congress and the courts. He doesn't always get it, but now he has more of a chance of it because now he's got a Democrat that's going to vote his way. Will Kular vote against? Because there's now calls to have a special congressional vote on Venezuela. Is Kular going to vote for against invading Venezuela when obviously there's only cockamamie reasons to go to war with Venezuela? The case to go to war in Venezuela is thinner by about a magnitude of 1,000 than the fucking excuses they gave us to go into Iraq. And the guy's on a tear. He's creating his own political class corrupt subculture that is only answerable to him. Okay? Um Crew has been tracking the Citizens for Responsible Ethics in Washington, has been tracking the pardons, and I'm just fucking sick and tired of it. Michael Grimm, Republican, New York, massive tax fraud. Okay, um, Wesley Snipes, the actor, yeah, he went to prison over his taxes. Okay, that porn star from the '90s, Ginger. I saw an interview with her on YouTube. Yeah, she went to prison for tax fraud. Okay, Michael Grimm just has to go. Oh, I love Trump and kiss his butt. Full pardon. Jeremy Young Hutchinson, Republican, Arkansas, state senator and state representative, bribery and tax fraud, full unconditional pardon, even though he had stolen campaign funds and the bribery was $150,000. Now he's let bribery charges go on Kular for $600,000. There's a pattern here. Glenn Casada, Republican, Tennessee, wire fraud. He was wire fraud, money laundering, and a fake Phoenix Solution mailer scheme using taxpayer funds. Not only did he do wire fraud, he did wire fraud or with taxpayer money. Full pardon. And remember, I'm going to try not to get angry about this because I am actually angry about this. A lot of me and my friends put ourselves in harm's way working undercover back in the day. And now you're literally letting the kingpins go. If they're a politician, a banker, or a kingpin, and they kiss your butt, they literally kiss your fat, disgusting ass, you get a pardon, including Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras. He was convicted in a U.S. court for conspiring to move hundreds of tons, not grams, not ounces, not pounds, tons of cocaine into the United States. Full unconditional pardon. Then we decided to target fishermen who we have not brought to court, which we don't have much evidence on other than a basic profile of a drug smuggling vessel. And we're executing them on site. Not only are we executing the fishermen on site based on what I would call, from my police days, a hunch, not evidence. Okay. Hunches are very important. Okay. A good hunch can solve a case, but it's not evidence of the case. Two different things. Okay. We're going to murder people. And even if they survive the missile attacks and they're floating in the water wounded, we're going to double tap them and we're going to murder them. These are not lawful wartime killings. These are not combat actions. This is state sanctioned murder. Okay. And I haven't been able to verify myself exactly what kind of boats they're blowing up, but these boats didn't look too big in the videos. These things don't look like they can make it from South America to Key West or to New Orleans or someplace on the Mississippi River. It looks like those are small coastal boats. Those aren't long distance boats. And if you're smuggling a lot of cocaine in your boat, you don't want to follow the shoreline. You're going to get picked up by Coast Guards. Okay. Couple of posts I saw, and again, I haven't been able to verify that, said that there's no way that these things could have made it to the U.S. mainland or the island chain of Florida without refueling many times. So they're going out through ocean routes on a boat that literally can't make the trip, would need to be refueled multiple times. And this is the grand business model that how they ship in cocaine into the country by using the wrong boats. None of this is making sense. None of this is making sense. And I said before, if you think they're smuggling, why don't we grab the boat? Wouldn't that make a lot more sense? But no, we're just blowing the boat, sending it to the water, and if infrared picks up people swimming in the water after the strike, we'll double tap them and we'll, quote, kill them all. And let me make it really clear. This is not a war crime. This is just straight up 187. This is just murder. Can the president declare war on anybody who wants to start killing people? That's what it sounds like now, but I don't think that's what the system was set up to do. I'm pretty sure. I'm about 99% positive. This is not the idea the founding fathers had in their head. Oh, whoever's in charge can just start executing whoever he doesn't like. He can just start touring the world and conquering lands. You know, when Juan Hernandez was 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 sentenced in court, the federal prosecutors told the court that they considered him one of the all-time top elite narco state terrorists, up there with Pablo Escobar. Okay. Remember what I told you about what we did to Pablo Escobar? We chased him out of his girlfriend's apartment. No more Pablo Escobar. And that was after, oh shit, looking for him for almost 4 years. And that's after he had detonated a whole list of car bombs, killing hundreds and hundreds of people. Like, Escobar was so crazy, he parked a truck bomb in front of an apartment building to get one cop. He took out the whole building. That's why after a while, we were just like, fuck it, we're not arresting him. We're just going to find him and kill him. Because the more pressure we put on to arrest him, the more he started using terrorist tactics. He was shooting bankers, he was shooting politicians, he was setting off car and truck bombs everywhere. Okay. Uh, Thank you, Pamela. I tried to. I don't have a problem with what we did with Pablo Escobar because it wasn't like we knew, like at the beginning when we were looking for him, that we were going to take him, arrest him, put him on trial. But he made it clear that he's willing to kill basically every cop in Colombia to further his business, then he became a military target. And if they had any evidence that the Venezuelan boats were doing something, and the thing is, one of the boats was Colombian, wasn't even Venezuela. So what story are you coming up with? You're telling me that you want to go to war with Venezuela. Then why did you shoot up a Colombian boat, a Colombian flagged vessel? And when you sunk the Colombian vessel, you did not arrest and bring back to the Southern District of Florida the suspects that survived, and you didn't charge them with anything. In turn, you just brushed them off and went, oops, and handed them back to the Colombian government. So how is their story holding any water? But since I was writing like my old groovy libertarian for president page over on Facebook, where I wrote for years, um, and live streamed for years, um, I was calling 20 years ago, 15 years ago for just stopping us. Put the money toward healthcare and education. Stop thinking that you can beat a market militarily. Because I said they'll keep this going until they start doing horrific things in the name of stopping drugs. You're not stopping drugs. You're trying to stop a market. Okay? Could you we went absolutely nuts in the alcohol prohibition. Okay? Did we stop alcohol production? Did we stop the import of alcohol? Nope, not on either one, not even close. And again, just like the drug war and the marijuana, cannabis prohibitions, and all these things they played through all these years, the rules didn't apply to rich white people. The alcohol prohibition was weird in this one way. Um, the Harvard Club had just, before the Volstead Act was passed, that actually gave an enforcement mechanism to the prohibition, the alcohol prohibition. Um, Before the Volstead Act was passed, Harvard Club bought enough alcohol so every one of their members could get shit faced every day of the week for at least 15 years. Okay. And when they did their speeches, which included the Temperance League, by the way, the women, um, they made it very clear that this wasn't about good white men drinking. This was about blacks, Mexicans, the Irish, and the Italians drinking. And they said that shit aloud. Okay. Any of this sounding familiar now? If you're wealthy, if you have business connections, ergo political connections, because they kind of go hand in hand, business and political connections, um, you can't do anything wrong. And now we're seeing, even if you do crimes, you're not even prosecutable. Even if you're the drug kingpin of drug kingpins. And it wasn't like we convicted Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, for fucking DUI. We arrested him from being one of the biggest narco traffickers of all time. He was sentenced to 45 years. He lets him go. Now we're murdering fishermen and calling them the suspects. We know who the fucking suspects are. We convicted him and put him in federal prison. You let him go. I had a friend back in the day. We were on two different agencies. We ended up working for the same department later. But when I originally mailed him, he was working for a city PD. I was working still in the Army. We're on the same task force, and like we were wingmen on a couple of search warrants. Um, he got thrown off the other cover teams because he did the big angry dance. And I mean, literally, he literally stepped on a chair, stepped on the desk, and started jumping up and down, stomping his feet on the district attorney, ADA, the assistant district attorney's desk, screaming at her over a dropped case. Now, the reason they dropped it, I agreed with him. It was a bullshit reason to drop the case. It was also wrong for him to go fucking mental on the ADA. Because yeah, he went absolutely fucking ballistic. Like got sent to the psychiatrist. That's how ballistic he went. But I can't imagine this if because we had a couple of targeted operation. We were going through to the top people in the region in at least two of our cases. When I was here in the United States working, half the time in West Germany, half the time in the United States. In the United States, we were going for a group of players, probably some of the biggest uh, people in the game on the West Coast. Like so big, you have to worry about counter surveillance and counter electronic surveillance. Like you have to have teams watching teams with these guys. Okay. You get me in one of those investigations and then you let the guy go after we get him convicted. I may be the one stomping on a desk. This is bullshit. This is total bullshit. And the thing is, all you've got to do is promise fealty to the broken ass man, the fucking wreck of a human being, the narcissistic dementia patient. As long as you tell him he's God, king of the universe, he will let you do any crime you want. And the thing is, now that they know to get out of prison is so easy, you watch the crime spree that's about to land Congress, the secretary departments. You don't think the secretary is going to start taking open bribes now? Now that they know there's no crime as long as you see the conferences around the big table in the White House. Those big, and They have to go around the table and kiss his ass. Okay, they already know what gets favor, and now they know if they just turn up the volume even more, they can literally get out of jail free card. This is why you don't elect a felon as president. These guys are operating, and I'm not just throwing stones. I'm not being hyperbolic here. They're acting exactly like the street gangs we used to go after. I mean, I don't know where we'll be post Trump, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm doing like, as an American, I'm doing some soul searching. I'll call it that. I'm now questioning our ability to function as a nation and a society. Because he loves going off about Somalia and how much it stinks and you should go back and fix it. While you break everything here? This is fucking absurd. And it was bad enough when the Supreme Court over the Virginia governor and his wife. The Supreme Court literally redefined what bribery was in that case. Okay. So that's why I mean soul searching. I don't see the ability of Congress to function in a lawful, moral, and ethical way. The White House is now a hangout for criminals, fraudsters, and Bitcoin dickheads, which is just a valueless fucking gambling system. They're now even going to uh what was it? Binance has made a gambling app for kids. And if a politician is caught doing a crime, apparently SOTUS thinks it's an option just to for that case to redefine the definition of bribery. Because bribery has never required an overt act. If I stop you at a traffic stop and you put $100 bill behind your driver's license and you hand it to me, okay, that's bribery. Now, fortunately, I never had that happen to me. I knew it happened to other people, um, and they got arrested. But the closest thing I ever had was a guy he looked like he had a lot of money. He just tried to do like the kind of Hollywood TV cop show version of it. Hey, is there any agreement we can come to? Is there something I have to do so I don't get a ticket? And I'm like, dude, I know what you're doing. And if you literally say one more thing along those lines, I'm going to turn on my tape recorder. Okay. And if you actually put out a briberous attempt, I am going to arrest you for attempting to bribe a peace officer. Do I make myself clear? License, insurance, and registration now, sir. And don't ever do that again. Hell, when we did search warrants and we had to seize cash, I mean, I wouldn't even take a quarter from those guys. Like I was back in the station, you have to have multiple people count the money so it comes out clean. So lead detective from one of the departments does it. And he goes, "Hey, can you count this?" And I go, "Yeah." No, let me grab a Coke first. And I go, "Oh shit, I don't know how many change." He goes, "Oh, take 50 cents from here." I literally put down $1 and took 4 quarters. I wouldn't even take 50 cents for the Coca-Cola out of that money. Went and got a Coke, came back, counted the money, got the same number everybody else got. Okay. But now I'm just Do we just do we have the collective ability from operating in a lawful, moral, and ethical governance framework? And I thought about last. I was laying on the couch before I fell asleep last night, and I was just sitting there in the dark room, just thinking. And this topic came up in my head, and I was like, projecting forward, I see very little chance with the personas and the actions in play right now that we will have lawful, ethical, and moral governance going forward. I think it's going to get worse because they now know all they have to do is do the bidding of the richest people, the handful of the richest people in the country. Pamela just said corruption, grift, and immorality at the highest executive level, disgraceful. We Americans in the world are paying dearly for this on every level. Thank you for speaking out and your integrity, sir. Well, thank you very much, Pamela. Um, I totally agree with that comment. Totally. Um, we. Oh, let me make one thing clear too. If I would have taken that 50 cents and my team chief saw it, he'd have written me up. I'd have got an Article 15 for doing that. No doubt. No doubt. Yes, over 50 cents. Kolar took $600,000. Do we have the ability to govern ourselves in a reasonable fashion going forward? Not with the people in the government right now. And I mean, lists of people, most of the Supreme Court. We will not be able to have good governance if we remain having the people on the Supreme Court we have now, up to and including Chief Justice Roberts, who's proven himself to be corrupt as fuck. Okay. I don't know why right now you would vote for any incumbent or why you would why would you vote for a Republican? And after Hakeem Jeffries agrees with the worst actions of the Republicans, why would you vote for a Democrat? You know, the people who are at least somewhat tolerable, I wish they would go independent. Because again, the two-party system has led up to this absolute disaster. Okay. So again, we got to be independent. We got to vote independent. We got to run for offices as independents. And if we don't have some change and some of these big corrupt and or stupid factions, not just individuals, factions of people don't get thrown out of office, we're in serious trouble. Like my vision of America is not Eisenhower and LBJ. It's Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein. That's how bad of a direction I think we're going. And today was the first day where I just admitted to myself, yeah, I don't think we're doing any of this right. We're on a bad path. It's getting worse, and it's made 1,000 times worse when the quote unquote opposition party is also part of the problem. Like New York, go ahead and reelect Jeffries. You deserve everything negative that happens to you across the board. Screw you. You're literally getting in bed with dear leader while telling us, oh, we're fighting for America. We're fighting for the little guy. Are you? Because it doesn't seem like you are at all. It seems like you're bailing on everything America, the American way, the American form of governance. It seems you're banning it all because a couple of rich people are mad they're not wealthier. Or the way they want to get wealthier is by committing a list of fucking crimes, a list of frauds. issuing meme coins. Okay, crypto's bullshit. Watch on Substack here. Sign up, follow Michael Cryptodamus. Okay, good page. He's tracking, and I think he's a coder too, because he's the one that put up the reformatting all the Epstein emails as a lookalike Gmail account, so you could actually surf it just like you were surfing your own Gmail box. I thought that was really cool. Go show him some love, and follow and read him, because he's telling you what crypto is really turning out to be. Just a massive international crime wave. And who's involved in an international crime wave? $ Trump and $ Melania. Yeah. So what do we do about it? I don't know. I just don't know right now, because the thing with this pardon today of Kular and yeah, both are sad excuses. Schumer is a joke. Schumer is an absolute coward, across the board coward. Schumer is so much of a coward. He should be in Uvalde PD. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So yeah, today when they let this guy go, and now all the left-right orthodoxy is singing "Kumbaya" because another politician got away with another case of bribery. Again, Constitution says bribery is bad. We're not even going to listen to the Constitution anymore. So maybe I'll get on tomorrow and write an essay tomorrow about how we shift gears. But right now, I'm nonplussed. I don't know how we shift gears if both sides are completely okay with the bribery scheme that is never ending in politics in America. And the dirtier the bribery, the quicker they'll get a pardon. The dirtier the drug dealing, the quicker they're going to get a pardon. The wealthier they are, the quicker they're going to get a pardon. So let me think about it. We all have to think about it. And until next time, think about it.